Greetings from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. This is the fourth module in the design of FIR filters. We have seen the design using window method, which involved computing the impulse response Hn by evaluating the Fourier series coefficients H omega. So this was our first step. So given any frequency response H omega, we were evaluating this integral getting H of n. And this H of n was of infinite duration, and we truncated it. We truncated this infinite impulse response using suitable window functions. And these window functions extended from minus m to plus n. Where, and finally, we got a filter of length 2m plus 1. And we have seen with the rectangular window function, we had a problem of overshoot. And when we used other window functions, which had a window that tapers down, starts at 1 at origin and tapers down towards 0 at m, we were able to solve the problem of overshoot. And typical length of FIR filters for giving a reasonable response was large. We had a large length, maybe 51 or 101, etc. So a large length, only when we went in for large length, the frequency response of the design filter well approximated the desired frequency response. And as far as implementation was concerned, we could either implement it using the direct form or using the linear phase method, where both of them they use n-1 delay elements, whereas the linear phase elements is sufficient as far as number of multipliers are concerned. Today, we shall see another method of FIR filter design, and which is known as the frequency sampling method. Another method of FIR filter design known as the frequency sampling method. Now, in this method, what happens is we are given H omega, and we need to obtain the impulse response H of n, and then we can implement it by either direct form 1 or using the linear phase realization. So now here, what we have is we are given the magnitude response, say H omega of the desired filter, and if I consider the interval say minus pi to pi or 0 to pi with any value, and given this frequency response, we need to take n equally spaced samples. Equally spaced samples from the given frequency response. We take n equally spaced samples, and immediately what we get is H of k. So when I take n equally spaced samples from the given frequency response, I'm going to get H of k. We can recognize H of k as the endpoint DFT. Because we know that what is an endpoint DFT? Endpoint DFT is nothing but n equally spaced samples from the periodic frequency spectrum in the interval of 0 to 2 pi. So now we are getting endpoint DFT. So since I have my endpoint DFT and my aim is to get the impulse response Hn, the process is just to compute the IDFT, the endpoint IDFT from H of k. So how do we get that? And we know that this is given by 1 by n sigma k and given H of k, which are samples. That's it. It's as simple as this. So given the frequency response, I take n equally spaced samples, and then I perform an endpoint IDFT, and then I get my impulse response Hn. So it's such a simple method, and the advantage is there is no need to do any integration. I just take the samples and perform the perform the IDFT. This method of designing the FIR filter is known as the frequency sampling method of FIR filter design. Now, if and we know that this magnitude spectrum H of k is usually having an even symmetry when my coefficients Hn are real. So for any practical design of the filter, I have an even symmetry in the coefficients. And if I simply do this without considering, if I take an IDFT, I will get a response which may not be linear phase. So we need to ensure that our design filter also has a linear phase response, and this happens if I ensure my slope of my designed filter has a slope of n minus 1 by 2. So it's the slope. So if I consider n as say 3, if I consider n as 3, then my slope is going to be minus 3 minus 1 by 2. What does that mean? It is minus 1. So if I try to plot the phase response of my linear phase filter, of my design filter Hn of length 3, say pi to minus pi, so this is going to have a slope of minus 1. So at pi it will be minus pi, at minus pi it will be plus 1. So this is going to be my phase response. If I consider an FIR filter of length 3, on the other hand, if I consider if my order n is say 5, then my slope is going to be minus 5 minus 1 by 2, and that is going to be minus 2. And hence, if I compute the phase response of this system plus pi to minus pi, at pi what will happen is this is going to become minus 2 pi, because my slope is now 2, and similarly at pi it's going to become 2 pi. Now when I plot this response, so this is going to be my plot. Now how is it? It's actually going from minus 2 pi to plus 2 pi, but by computation what will actually happen when I try to plot is, because my system is designed to give me only values from it will actually go from it will show me the values from plus pi to minus pi. So it will be a slope of plus pi to minus pi, and then there's a shift again. It's a transition. It's the same plot. There's no change in the plot. We recognize that both are identical. This plot and this plot are identical. Instead of going from plus 2 pi to minus 2 pi, I'm having the same plot, but there is a transition. This is the same as it shifts in this manner, and then we have the phase plot. So this is a linear phase filter. So now, if I choose any n, once I compute as a first step in my design, I need to compute h of k, the n magnitude values. So I compute h of k, the magnitude values by taking n equally spaced samples. The second step would be we forcefully define the phase response. And so we give the phase response a slope of minus n minus 1 by 2. So we forcefully define the phase response, and once I do this, then my filter is going to be a linear phase filter. So now let's take up an example. So let's take an example. Say the problem statement. Let us take the example. So design, and let us say design an FIR filter. Design an FIR filter of length say 9, of length 9 with the cutoff, low pass cutoff. Let us say a low pass filter with the cutoff of say pi by 4, which is nothing but 0.25 pi. So my specifications are very similar. Design an FIR filter of length 9, which is a low pass filter with the cutoff of pi by 4 using frequency sampling structure. Using frequency sampling method, and then later on we will see how to implement it using the frequency sampling structure. So now as a first step, I need to first sketch my desired response. So this is my pi, this is my 2 pi. What is given is mod of h of omega, and this is say pi by 2, pi by 4, and say 3 pi by 2. I'm just drawing a free hand. So this is my desired response. And we know by symmetry, we are going to have the same magnitude here. So this is my step 1. I will first draw my desired response. And then what is given now? Now I need to take n equally spaced samples. And what is n? We also will recognize that n is equivalent to 2 pi. So spectrum is periodic with period 2 pi. My DFT is also periodic, and DFT coefficients are periodic with period n. And hence we have n is equivalent to 2 pi. So now this is my given specification. Now from this specifications, I need to take n equally spaced samples. So let me try to take equally spaced samples. So I have the spectrum. This is what is given by specifications. So now let me take the n equally spaced. Now how do I know where is my 9 value? I need to have 9 values of n. So, well, not so good in computing fractions of 9. So let me take the help of MATLAB. So I have my numbers going from 0 to 8. N goes from 0 to n minus 1. So 0 to 8 multiplied by 2 by 9. So because 2 pi, I'll keep it as such. I'll not put the pi here because I feel comfortable in seeing all cutoff frequencies as a multiple of pi, 0.25 pi, 0.3 pi, etc. I comfortable, so that is why I'll retain in that manner, and I'm just computing the fractions. What are my actual values of omega for 9 equally spaced samples in the interval 0 to 2 pi. So I get it as 0, 0.22, 0.44, 0.66, 0.88, 1.11, 1.33, 1.55, 1.77. So let me put these values. So now my say omega is going to be 0. Then I have 0.22, 0.44, 0.66, 0.88, 1.11, 1.33, 1.55, and 1.77. And the next value will of course be 2. So now let me, this is my cutoff frequency. Cutoff frequency we said is 0.25 pi. So this is my first sample. If I take omega equal to 0, where is my sample now? It's here. For n equal to 0, I have a magnitude of 1. Where's my second sample? 0.22 pi. It's actually 0.22 pi, 0.44 pi, etc. I have not put the pi, but it is actually 0.22 pi, 0.44 pi, etc. Because in that value we did not put pi. So now 0.22 pi, this is my cutoff. Cutoff is pi by 4, which is 0.25 pi. So my 0.22 pi is going to be here. I have a sample here. Next is 0.44. This is pi by 2. This is pi by 4, pi by 2. So 0.44 pi is going to be here. This is 0.75 pi, 0.66 pi is going to be here. This is pi. I have a 0.88 pi. Then I have a 1.11 pi. Then I have a 1.33 pi. A 1.33 pi. Next I have a 1.55 pi. and then I have a 1.77 pi. Sorry, yes. This is my 1.55 pi, 1.33 pi, and 1.77 pi. 1.77 pi is going to happen here because my cutoff is, if I write these values, this value is 0.25 pi, and this value is 1.75 pi. So 1.75 pi is this value. My cutoff frequency is 1.7. I mean, my pass band is in this area. So 1.77 pi is going to be here. So these are my 9 samples of my h of k, the magnitude response. So let me write that down. So now from the desired frequency response, I took 9 equally spaced samples and I got my magnitude response. What's my magnitude response? Is given by first value is 1 h of k, second value is 1, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1. So total I have 9 values, 6 zeros and 3 ones. And by symmetry, this is how it looks like. This is the magnitude response. If I directly compute the IDFT, I will not have ensured a linear phase characteristic, and hence and now I need to define my phase. And what's my phase? Phase is going to be linear phase, and how much is the slope now? The slope is going to be alpha, that is say minus n minus 1 by 2, and that is n is 9. 9 minus 1 by 2 is minus 4. So now I need to define the slope for each of this. What is the angle? This actually corresponds to minus this is 0.22 pi. This value, this value of omega is 0.22 pi, and this should have a slope of minus 4. So now what I will do is I will define my h of k. H of k, this is going to be 1 because e power j0 will be 1, and this is 1 e into e to the power of e to the power of minus, what's my angle? I have a j 2 pi by 9. This is my angle. 2 pi by 9 is what I have, 0.22 pi, and with the slope is minus 4. So it's the angle is this, and then because of the slope I have a minus 4, and then all others are 0. But if I had a non-zero value, I'll be actually multiplying it by e to the power of minus j. Instead of 2 pi by 9, it will become 2 pi to 2 by 9 and then 4. Slope remains the same. So all other values are 0. And the last value will be the complex conjugate of this, or I can also write it as e power minus j 2 pi 8 by 9, which will be the same. Either way is going to be the same. We'll check that. Minus 2 pi 4 by 9, and this is a plus. I simply take it as a complex conjugate of this. So what I have done is I have first taken the magnitude values from the given frequency response, and then I multiply it by the slope, and then I get this result. And now my task is just to compute the inverse DFT of this. So now let us see what is the value. E power this is 1 e to the power of minus j 2 pi by 9 into 4. So let's check that. E to the power of minus j 2 pi by 9, and then there is a 4. 4 comes from the slope, and I have it as minus 0.93 and minus 0.34. So I have the value as minus 0.93 minus 0.34 j, and then I have all these values as 0, and the last value is a complex conjugate, or it is a 8th term. The math is the 9th term, but n minus 1, so I can also have it as into 8. Into 8, and see we have a complex conjugate. So if I put it either complex conjugate or simply I can put a complex conjugate. Even if I put as 8, I get the complex conjugate of the earlier result. So both ways gives me the same result. So the last value I have it as minus 0.93 plus 0.34 j. So now to compute the impulse, the filter, I have to just compute the 9-point IDFT of above h of k. So the 9-point IDFT, and then I will get my HN. So I need to compute the IDFT of the above h of k. H of k, and that will give me HN. So once again, maybe I will go to MATLAB to compute the IDFT. So let me first define. Okay, I have my first term this way. My h of k. What is h of k? First value was a 1. Second value of e was e to the power of minus j 2 pi 4 by 9. And then we had 6 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I had the same value, but with the complex conjugate. So now it was a plus. And then I close it. Let me just see. Let me see. All the values are, first value is a 1. This and everything else is a 0. The last value is a complex conjugate of this. So now my HN, what is my HN? It's just the inverse DFT of h of k. So this is my result now, minus 0.09, 0, 0.149, 0.28, 0.33, and by even symmetry, I get the same value. So I have my design impulse response h of n as minus 0.09, 0, 0.149, 0.28, 0.33, by symmetry 0.28, 0.149, 0, and minus 0.09. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 values. This is my impulse response h of n. Let me just plot the result. Say my n goes from 0 to 8, and then let me plot the result sum of n comma hn. So this is my impulse response of the design filter that is symmetric, that goes from 0 to 8, and the coefficients are symmetric, and this is what I got by taking the IDFT. So we have got the impulse response of the desired of the filter. What is the method we have used? The frequency sampling method. Now, if I look at a hardware implementation of the same filter, coming to the implementation, one, I can use a direct form method. Direct form method, wherein I will use 8 delay elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 delay elements. And then I can implement it. I use an adder, and then I get my output yn, and this is my input xn. And what's the first branch gain? The first and the last, they both have the same branch gain. And what's the branch gain? It is I think 0.09 minus 0.09. So this has a branch gain of let me draw, yeah, minus 0.09 and minus 0.09. The next second value, sorry, the second value, the gain was 0, so I will not draw it. The second and the second last value, they have a gain of 0, so the branches with 0 gain are not drawn. The next is 0.149. So let me draw this 0.149. So both of them have a gain of 0.149, 0.149. The next value has a gain of 0.28. So this and this, both of them have a gain of 0.28, 0.28, and then the middle value has a gain of 0.33. So this has a gain of 0.33. So this is my direct form realization, wherein I am having, I require 9 multipliers and 8 delay limits. The next method of design, the second method of design, designing the same system is known as the linear phase design. Wherein we use a linear phase design. The second method of designing the same filter is by using the linear phase method. So let's look at the second method of is the linear phase structure, linear phase implementation of the system. So what we do here is it is going to have exploit the linear phase characteristic of the filter, which has a symmetry in the coefficients, and hence we will reduce the number of multipliers. So now what happens is the first element and the last element, they both have a gain of same gain, and the gain is minus 0.09. So this is what I have, and then I add, and then my output ym. This is my second element had a branch gain of 0. The third element, and this was 0. So the next, if I take, they both had an identical branch gain. And the branch gain was 0.149. The next, if I take the next, they both had an identical branch gain of I think 0.22, 0.28. So this had a branch gain of 0.28, and then the central value had a branch gain of 0.33. So this is a efficient method. Of course, instead of drawing it in as a linear structure, you can draw 4 up and 4 below, and then that looks little more good. It looks better, but yes, the concept is the same. So here what we have done is we have used same 8 delay elements, 8 delay elements, and but we have number of multipliers is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 multipliers. But actually, it so happened that here 2 elements have a gain of 0. Otherwise, the number of multipliers is going to be 5. So this is the linear phase structure. Exclusive specific to well, let's we have seen how to compute the impulse response h of n from the n samples h of k that we take from h of omega. So we were given h of omega in the interval 0 to 2 pi, and we took n equally spaced samples. And that gave us the magnitude of h of k. Then we defined the linear phase characteristic such that the slope was given by minus n minus 1 by 2, provided n is odd. We are considering examples where n is odd. And then all that we had to do was an inverse, the inverse discrete Fourier transform, and we got the result. That is the impulse response h of n of the desired filter. The next we shall now see how to get the same result. How to get the same result by using another simpler method, This is just for simplicity in computation. So now what we have is I can consider say the interval, instead of considering the interval 0 to 2 pi, let us say I consider the interval minus pi to plus pi. And then say I am given some response, some desired response, and I am going to consider say let us say this is our h of omega, and then we need to take samples equally. Now instead of considering the interval 0 to 2 pi, let me consider the interval minus pi to pi, and let us say I'm going to take the samples as minus m to plus m. I'm going to take the minus m to plus m such that my n is equal to 2m plus 1. I consider the samples in this manner. In this case, now what happens to our h of n? We know the result h of n is given by 1 by n sigma. Now since I have to, it's periodic. Our h of k is always periodic, and because it's periodic, I can consider any continuous interval of n samples. So I am going to take my samples going from k equal to say minus m to plus m and h of k e to the power of j 2 pi nk by n. This is our representation, our usual IDFT expression. The only difference is instead of going from 0 to n minus 1, I am taking the summation from minus m to plus m. Now what happens is I have this as 1 by n, and then say for k equal to 0, this I have a h of 0 plus sigma k equal to 1 to m h of k e to the power of j 2 pi nk by n so what I'm trying to do is, instead of going from minus m to plus m, I've taken a 0 here, and then I'll take my summation from 1 to m, only positive values, and plus e to the power of minus j 2 pi nk by n. I get this because of the negative terms. The minus m to minus 1 is what is going to give me this summation. And why I have this h of k as common for both is we know that for any real sequence h of n, the h of k always has a symmetry in about it. That is why I can retain this as h of k and common to both of them. Then what happens is I get it as this is my sample value at h of 0 plus this I can recognize with a cosine function if I multiply and divide by 2. So this becomes now 2 sigma k equal to 1 to m h of k cos of 2 pi nk by n. Now we get the same result. Only thing is this is easier to implement computationally. Suppose I have to implement it by using a paper and pen or using my calculations. This is easier as compared to computing an endpoint IDFT. So we'll take the same example to see whether we get the same result. We'll take the same example that we have just designed. So this becomes an easier method of computing the impulse response. So let's take the example. Uh, let's define our problem as say consider n equal to 9, length filter of length 9, and a low pass filter with the cutoff omega c equal to 0.25 pi. And the aim is to design the FIR filter using the frequency sampling method. So since it's a low pass filter, what we have is say now I'm going to take the interval minus pi to plus pi. And my cutoff is 0.25 pi. My this is say this is half 0.25, and this is half say 0.25, and this. So my required desired filter response is in this manner. My h of omega, my desired. So now I need to take my samples, and let's take samples here. So for that we need to consider what is our omega s, or what is our resolution of omega. So let's take try to compute the samples. So now my n is 9, and so my m is equal to m goes from minus 4 to plus 4. So n equal to minus 4 to plus 4. And let us see how much is this quantity multiplied by into 2 by 9. So because I have the whole spacing as divided by 5. So now this goes from minus 0.88, minus 0.66, minus 0.44, minus 0.22, 0, and so on. So my spacing now in terms of pi, so 0.88 pi, 0.66 pi. So this is what my spacing is going to be. So minus 0.88, minus 0.66, minus 0.44, minus 0.22, 0, and the same repeated. So plus 0.22, 0.44, 0.66, and 0.88, and all, of course, all multiplied by pi. So this is my spacing. So now when I look at it, 0.88, 0.66, 0.44 is in the stop band. 0.22, 0, and these three are going to be in our pass band. So when I take my samples, I have a sample here at minus 0.88, minus 0.66, minus 0.44, then a 0.22, then of course at 0, and a 0.22. And again at 0.44 it's a 0, 0.66 and 0.88 it's a 0. So now when I try to write my h of k, what I have is I have three values being 0, then I have 3 values non-zero, and again 3 values 0, and this corresponds to my k equal to 0. This corresponds to k equal to 0, and k is actually going from minus 4 to plus 4. So m being 4 in this case, m is equal to 4. So I am having my samples going from minus 4 to plus 4. Now given this, now let us try to get h of n using the expression that we have just derived. And what is the expression? It is given by 1 by n and then h of 0 plus 2 sigma k equal to 1 to m h of k cos 2 pi nk by n. And in this particular example that we have, all values of k are 0 except k equal to 0, 1. And hence now in this example, it reduces to, and our n is 9. So n is 9, h of 0 is the 1, plus 2, and only for k equal to 1 it is valid. So h of 1 again is a 1, or say h of 1. So k equal to 1. K equal to 2, 3, 4 are all 0. And hence I have cos, k of 1. K equal to 1. H of 1. So k equal to 1 cos 2 pi n k. K is a 1 divided by n, and n is a 9. This is how I have my expression as, and we'll all agree that this is definitely much easier to evaluate as compared to computing a 9-point IDFT of the sequence. So let's try to get the values for different values of n. So I have it as 1 plus 2. H of 1 is again 1. So my 1 by 9, 1 plus 2 cos 2 n pi by 9. So let's try to compute these values. So now I have h of n given by, my n goes from 0 to 4. 0 to 4, and hn is given by 1 plus 2 into cos 2 pi n by 9, and whole divided by 1 by n. So I'm having my n going from, n goes from 0 to 4 in this case, and my hn is given by 1 plus 2 into cos 2 pi n k. K is a 1, so let me put it as a 1, and divided by n, and that is a 9. And the whole quantity is having a 1 by n, so 1 by 9. And what we get is, this is the result we get: 0.33, 0.28, 0.1490, and minus 0.097. So this is what we get, and let us write down. So what we are getting is 0.33, then 0.28, 0.28. It is symmetric. It is going to be even symmetric. And then 0.149 and 0.149, and then a 0, and then a minus 0.09, minus 0.09. And this is my h of n of my design filter with, of course, this is the center, but then to make it causal, I shift it in this manner. And this is my design filter. And if we recognize these values are exactly identical when we perform the 9-point IDFT of the sequence. So that is why we have taken a similar example, and to see whether we get the same result. So now if we try to plot our plot a result, I can have my complete impulse response of my design filter as, say, flip left to right, right Hn of 2 to end, and then a Hn. This is what my my thing is, and my index runs from 0 to n minus 1. N minus 1 is a 8, and let us try to plot the result. Stem m comma Hn. So this is the impulse response of my design filter, having linear phase characteristic because the coefficients are symmetric, and the impulse response of a finite duration. And the method we have used is the frequency sampling method. So now once we design the filter, we always want to know how good is that design as compared to the given specifications. So now to verify the design, suppose we need to verify the design. What we shall do is we shall now compute an endpoint DFT, the discrete Fourier transform of the say, let us say, n endpoint. I'll take a larger point DFT of my sequence Hn and try to plot the result. So all that I will do is now I will try to get a large point DFT of the sequence H of n and to see how my frequency response is. So let me take some large value nn and say 100. And then let me compute my h of k, the frequency response or the FFT of my design filter. My design filter is h of n, and then I'm going to compute an nn point DFT of the sequence. And then I want to plot it. So my frequency scale now goes from 0 to nn minus 1. And our scale goes from 0 to 2 pi. So I multiplied by 0 to 2 pi and divided by nn. So this is my frequency scale, and let me try to plot this frequency versus my absolute value of my frequency response that I have designed. And just to make it little clearer, let me put the line thickness as this, and let me also fix the axis. So that the figure fits in well, and let me make the. So now what we are doing is we're taking some large value of n, 100, and I'm computing a 100 point DFT of the sequence and trying to plot the absolute value to just see how my design filter is. And this is what we have. See, we wanted a filter with the cutoff of 0.25 pi, and this is plotted. This is a plot from 0 to 2 pi to 6.28. So 2 pi, and we see that we designed a low pass filter with a sharp cutoff, and we took some samples. We took 9 samples, and this is the result we got. And this is how the frequency response of our design filter is. So now how do we recognize the frequency response? See, now if I look here, this is my value, my first value for h equal to 0, I mean k equal to 0. This is my second value here, k equal to 1. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and my ninth value. So I have an exact representation of my frequency response at the instance of sampling. So now if I try to plot my okay, I think, yeah. So now if I try to get the same figure, and let us try to put our design filters response in the same set so that it becomes clear. So this is what I have. And let's look at our frequency response. It's at 0, it goes to a peak and it comes down. So now if I try to superimpose the frequency response of my designed filter over what we had taken. This was our ideal low pass filter. We took samples and then we try to design the filter, and after designing the filter we have now tried to get this actually goes down, but then since we are plotting the absolute value, it goes like this. So what do we observe? What we observe is the frequency response. The frequency response of the designed filter. Of the designed filter is exactly equal. Is exactly equal at instance of sampling. At instance of sampling. And in between we have ripples. So now how do we improve the design? It is very simple. We just have to increase n, and if I increase n, my design is going to be better. So one way of improving the design and having a better representation of our design filter is to just increase the size length of the filter n. Let's take one more example. Having seen examples of a low pass filter, now let's take another example. Say the aim is to design a high pass filter, of say size 15. Let us say n equal to 15, and let us say my high pass filter cutoff is say 0.95. So this is the specifications, and once again let us say we are asked to design using the frequency sampling method. We have seen how to design it using the window method. Now we are trying to design it using the frequency sampling method. So as the first step, we will try to draw the frequency response of the desired filter. So this goes from say minus pi to plus pi, and this is a high pass filter. So this is my pi by 2, pi by 2, pi by 4, 3 pi by 4, and my cutoff is given as 0.95. So this 0.7, so somewhere 0.95 is going to be here. This is my 0.95. So this is a high pass filter. So this is 0.95. This is 0.95, and similarly this is going to be minus 0.95. So now before I need to take 15 samples. In this case, n is equal to 15. So my n equal to 15, and hence my m is going to be n minus 1 by 2. So that is going to be 7. So minus 7 to plus 7 is what we have. So let us first see what are our omega s. That is my samples or my resolution of my frequency. So again, let me. So I have my n as n is 15. N is 15, and my omega now goes from 0 or say minus 7 to plus 7, and multiplied by 2 by n. N is 15. So I keep the pi separate because I always like to have my so this is the now minus 0.933, then minus 0.8, 0.667, 0.53, 0.4, and so on. So what I have, my frequency resolution is given by 0, 0, then plus or minus 0.33, 0.133, 0.2667, 0.133, then plus or minus 0.267. Then I have plus or minus 4, plus or minus 0.533, plus or minus 0.4, then plus or minus 0.533, then plus or minus 0.667, plus or minus 0.667, and then plus or minus 0.8 and 0.93, plus or minus 0.93. These are my 15 samples. Now when I look at this, what I find, in my pass band, there is only one value, plus or minus 0.933. So let me take my samples here. So I have one sample here, it's a high pass filter in the pass band, and I have another plus or minus 0.33. Then all other values are going to be zeros. And where are they located? Plus or minus 0.8, plus or minus 0.8. Then I have plus or minus 0.667. Then I have plus or minus 0.53. Then we have plus or minus 0.4. Then we have plus or minus 0.267. And then we have plus or minus 0.133 and plus or minus 0. Sorry, this is a freehand drawing, so not so equally spaced. But we are right in as far as taking the samples which are 0 and non-zero. So now what has happened? We have taken a high pass filter with the cutoff of 0.95 and n is equal to 15. So in this case, what has happened is our h of k. H of k, if I try to write, if we try to write h of k, my h of k is 0 for all, and it's 1 only for k equal to plus or minus 7, and it is 0 otherwise. And of course, my k goes from minus 7 to plus 7. In this k going from minus 7 to plus 7. In this interval, we have only two non-zero values. So now once again, instead of doing a 15-point IDFT, our second method of getting the result becomes easier. And let's so now my h of n, the impulse response h of n is given by, we can use this expression since this is simpler. 1 by n h of 0 plus 2 into sigma k equal to 1 to m cos 2n pi k by n. And in this example, our n is 15, so 1 by 15. And h of 0 is a high pass filter, so it's a 0 plus 2. And all values of h of k are 0. That's the h of k. H of k. All values of h of k are 0 except for k equal to 7. So we have and for k equal to 7, the value is a 1. It's a 1 and cos 2n pi k, and k is a 7 by 50. And this is what we have. So this becomes very simple to compute. So 2 by 15. So now it reduces to 2 by 15. 15 cos 2n pi 17, 7 by 15. This is my result. So let's try to get the values of h of n. 2 by 15 cos 2n pi 7 by 15. And of course, n will go from n goes from 0 to for n equal to 0, we can compute yes, n goes from 0 to 7. N goes from 0 to 7. So let's compute the value. N goes from 0 to 7. And what is my Hn? My impulse response Hn is given by 2 into cos 2 n pi into k. K is a 7 in this case, divided by n, and n is 15, and the whole is divided by a 15. And this is what I get: 0.133 minus 0.13, 0.12 minus 0.107, and so on. And if I want to get my whole Hn, I can simply write it as, I can flip my Hn from 2 to n and then keep the whole thing. So this is what I have. And m going from 0 to n minus 1, that is 14. And let me try to plot my result, m comma Hn. And if I want a better the thickness of my plot, I can make my line width as 2. So let's look at the impulse response of our filter that we have designed. This is what we have. This is the impulse response of the filter that we have designed. We have designed a high pass filter. So as you can see, the alternate terms are negative. And once again, it's a linear phase filter, and hence there is even symmetry in the coefficient. This is my designed impulse response Hn of the high pass filter. So to have the design, we need to write the values. So I have my h of n. How do I write it? H of n is given by, my center value is 0.133. Then I have minus 0.113, minus 0.13, and then I have a 0.12 and minus 0.110, a 0.12 and minus 0.10, minus 0.10, and then we have a 0.08 and 0.067, 0.08, 0.08, and then a minus 0.067, minus 0.067, and a 0.04 and minus 0.01. So 0.04 and minus 0.01, and 0.04 and minus 0.01. This is my plot of the filter, and this is, here is where my origin is. So this is my sequence Hn, and having 15 values. So we have got the impulse response, and how it, if I try to sketch the plot, we have seen that it is negative, negative, and then it's a positive, and then there is a small negative, and then there's a positive, and it is alternate, and there's an even symmetry in the coefficients. So it has a linear phase characteristic. Again, not drawn to scale, because anyway we have seen the actual plot by using the MATLAB. So this is our impulse response, and by seeing, I can make out that this is a system with, it's a high pass filter. The moment I see my coefficients having alternate being positive, then I know this is a high pass filter. So now let us check how good is that design. And how do we check our design? All that we have to do is we compute a larger point h of FFT of the designed filter. So h of k is, let us say the DFT. We take the DFT of h of n and say some large value. Let us say 100 point DFT, and then we'll try to plot the absolute value, and then we'll get the response of the design filter. So let's check how good is our design for this filter that we have just designed. So we have obtained Hn, and now let us take Nn. Nn is say 100. And then I have my frequency. My frequency spacing goes from 0 to 100 minus 1, and it's a scale over 2 pi. So I multiply it over 2 pi, and then I have to divide it over, and this is my frequency spacing. And to compute the frequency, the NN point DFT of my sequence, I compute the DFT of my designed filter Hn of length Nn. And then I get it. Now let me try to plot the frequency versus the absolute value of h of k. And of course, this is just to make the line bold, and then fit the figure within the axis. So this is my response, the frequency response of the design filter. It's a high pass filter. So this is my zero plot. The plot is going from 0 to pi. 0 to 2 pi. This is my pi. I have a peak around pi. I had a cutoff of 0.9 pi. So this is my cutoff, and this is what I have my ripples. My ripples are present. So now if I try to put the frequency response of my designed filter over the desired response, if we try to do that, what we get is, let us try to so now let's try to put the frequency response of our designed filter. So now I'm going to have an exact match at the instance of sampling. And then there are going to be ripples. Of course, the ripples we saw were dying down as we progressed. And so this is the property of the design using the frequency sampling method. We have an exact match at the instance of sampling and ripples in between. And we saw we have increased the length n. With n large, we saw the magnitude of the ripples has reduced. So with increasing order of the filter, the energy in the ripples reduces. We have an exact match at the instance of sampling, and in between there is some small ripples. So now we have seen how to design the filter, and we have also these filters, because of the even symmetry that exists in their coefficients, we can always implement it using if we want to implement the filter, it's always possible to implement using the direct form method or using the linear phase realization, both of which we have seen. But there's one more method of implementing frequency sampling filters which are designed using the frequency sampling method. And that method of design is known as the frequency sampling structure. So when I have a given frequency response h of omega, and when I take n equally spaced samples in this h of omega, what I am getting is h of k. And it's interesting to observe that from h of k, we can directly get the hardware implementation through the frequency sampling structure without computing without computing the impulse response h of n. And that method is known as the frequency sampling structure of implementing the design filter. So this we shall take up how to have a frequency sampling structure for